So question 10, we have a triangle of base length 2 and perpendicular height 8 as shown here. And then we have T1, T2 and T3, the first three shapes in a sequence of shapes based on this triangle. So each value, n, is an element of natural numbers. So we can only have stages 1, 2, 3, 4. Tn is made up of n rectangles of equal height. So that would be 4 for T4 laid on top of each other. So equal height laid on top of each other. Okay, so this is going to be a 4, they're 8 high, 4 and a 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 there. They're all going to be, it's 2 wide, so they're all going to be a half. And then in this one, we have this height here. It's going to be a third of 8. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these guys, 2 wide. They're all going to be 2 over 6. Not 2 over 3, 2 over, yeah, 6 parts in 2. They're all going to be 1/3, 1/3. Yeah, they're going to be a third each, aren't they? It's 1 halfway across, a third. There's going to be 6 of them, which would give 2. Okay, part A, draw T4. So that's going to be 2 high each. 2, 2, and 2. And we're asked to draw the rectangle. So we can start with this one here. Up, across, and down. Up, across, and down. And up, across, and down. And same again, up, across, and down. So this is T4. Show the area of the 3 rectangles in T3. So back to T3. Okay, so what do we know about T3? The bottom is 2. So triangle 1. Just do it here. Triangle 1 has an area of 2 by the height, which is 8 over 3. The area of the rectangle, so that's 16 over 3 for triangle 1. Rectangle 1. Rectangle 2 also has a height of 8 over 3. And its width from here to here, the width, I would have to take away these 2 straight sides. So it's going to be 8 over 3 by the width, which is, what do we say, they were a third. So it's going to be the total 2 minus 2/3, which is going to be 4 over 3. So 4 over 3 by 8 over 3. That's going to be 32 over 9. Is that right? And then the last one is again a height of 8 over 3. Number 3. So it's going to be, the width of it is going to be 2 minus 4 of the thirds, which is 2 over 3. So it's going to be 2 over 3 by the height 8 over 3 is 16 over 9. So 32 and 16 will be 48 over 9 for 2 plus 3, which is divide each by 3, 16 over 3. So the areas are 1, 16 over 3 plus 2, 3, which are also 16 over 3. So it is 32 over 3 square units for part B. Then we're asked to find the total area in Tn. So let's try and find a pattern here that's going on. So we look at the 3 patterns with nothing on them. There's definitely something consistent in that the area of the triangle is always included. So the area of the triangle is half the base by the height. It's in every one of them. So that's just 8 square units. So we can begin with 8 square units. So it's 8 plus, we have 2 triangles, then we've 4 triangles, then we've 6 triangles. So we get a pattern for the area of the triangles. We've 2, 4, and 6, which is 2n triangles. 2 by 1, 2 by 2, 2 by 3. And the area of each, it might be easier to start with this one. Where does this is going to be a 4 and a 4, which is 8 divided by 2, which is 8 over n. Is this the same? This is going to be 8 over 3. All of them are, so that's 8 over n. So we definitely have, this is also in pattern 1 is 8 over n, 8 over 1, this one here. So the area of each triangle, we have 2n of them. We call this the base of the triangle, so that's going to be times half the base of the triangle, which we're just seeing to be 8 over n, by the perpendicular height in each case, which is this bit here, this bit here. So what size is that bit? So these are 1. These are all 1 over 2. These are all 1 over 3. If you imagine that the middle has to make up 1 each time, there's going to be 3 of them. And there's like 2 of them in here, so they're always half of 2 is 1, so it's going to be 1 over 2, 1 over 3, 1 over 4. So it looks like the perpendicular height in each case is 1 over n. So what's going on here? This looks like we have the 2's will cancel, the n's will cancel, and we're left with 8 plus 8 over n for Tn. 8 plus 8 over n. Let's just check the one we already know. Well, we already know 1 and 2 and 3. Let's check T3. If Tn is equal to this, T3 is 8 plus 8 over 3. 24 and 8 is 32 over 3. T1 will be 8 plus 8, which is 16. And T2 will be 8. Sorry, I wrote 8 plus 8n. It's 8 plus 8 over n is what I'm actually calculating. 8 plus 8 over n. So 8 plus 8 over 1. 8 plus 4, 8 over 2 is 12, which we saw. Did we write that down? That was the area of the second one. We have 4 by 2, which is 8. One above it is half of it. 4, that will be 12, which is what we said. So this looks like it's right for Tn, 8 plus 8 over n. Total area of the rectangles in a different sequence. Here's area. We're told that it's 8n minus 1 over n. 8n minus 8 over n is an. Work out the value for an, which is greater than 95% of the area of the triangle on the right. It's the same triangle. Half of 2 by 8. So you get the 8 square units. So what's 95% of 8? 0.95 by 8. So that would make it greater than, this is 7.6. 7.6. So when is this greater than 7.6? So 8n minus 8 have to be greater than 7.6n. 0.4n greater than 8. N would have to be greater than, what's this work out to be? 20. 8 divided by 0.4 is 20. So right, let's check a of 19 and a of 20 to see is this where it flips. A of 19 is going to be 8 by 18, 19 minus 1 over 19, which is 80 and 64, 144 over 19, which is 7 point something. We want it to be greater than 8 square units. 7 20s are 140, so that's 7 point something, and then 20 would be 8 by 19 over 20, which is 172 over 20, which is 8 point something. So it does flip from 7 point to 8 point. You can see here we're checking. So I'm not sure there was much difficulty in that one. Here we have a pyramid. Diagram A and diagram B are both the same, and it's got a square base C, and it shows this horizontal shaded diagram here. telling us that the area, and we go from area integrate, we get back to volume. That's where we're asked to integrate this to get the volume. So the area is equal to S of x, which is equal to x squared times c squared over h squared. So if we want to integrate this, let's integrate this between h and 0. So we're going to end up with the integration part will be the x. This is a constant. So we're going to have c squared over h squared by the integral of x squared, which is x cubed over 3. So that's what the integral looks like between h and 0. So we're putting h in for x. So therefore we're going to get c squared h cubed over h squared times 3. The 0 will make everything 0, so that's just what it equals. So it just looks like c squared h over 3. And if you go to the formula booklet and get the volume of a pyramid, it tells you it's a third BH, where B is the square of any base. So the square of our base is c squared, we can see, and h is still h, so the area of our one is, based on this formula booklet, will be a third by c squared by h. So you can see here, you'll be able to check your answer for this second last part of the test. So the volume in terms of c and h is c squared h over 3. Then we have x starts to increase at 3 units per second. So x increasing over time is dx dt. That should be your first note. That's equal to 3. This causes s of x to increase as well. We're asked to find the rate of change of s of x with respect to time. So we're asked to find dA dt. So let's set up a chain rule to see what we have. dA dt, we can include dx dt. And we'd have to have dA on top. We'd have to get rid of the dx. So we have dx dt is 3. So what about dA dt or dA dx? Well, what have we got for area? We have the area is, what was it, x in terms of x squared c squared over h squared, x squared c squared over h squared. So if we fill with dA dx, we can differentiate dA dx. It's going to be the constant again, it's the c squared and h squared. So it'll be 2x, differentiate x, by c squared over h squared. So that's dA dx. And we're told the rate of change at the instance x is half the perpendicular height, so x is h over 2. So let's sub this in, 3 by, I'll put the 2x in first, 2x by c squared over h squared. So we're going to get 6 times h over 2 for x by c squared over h squared. The h and the squared will cancel. 6 and 2 will give 3. So this looks like the dA dt is equal to 3 c squared over h.